The history of the Roman Empire begins with the Republican period, spanning over 16 centuries. From 509 BCE to 27 BCE. This era played a vital role in shaping Roman political, military, and cultural systems. It was a time marked by dramatic shifts in power structures and significant territorial expansion. A pivotal event that marked the beginning of the Roman Republic was the overthrow of the monarchy and the establishment of a republican form of government. The Romans freed themselves from the rule of kings and instead instituted a political system where power was clearly divided among elected officials. In the political system of the Republic, authority was primarily distributed among elected officials, including consuls and senators. Consuls, the heads of the government, were elected annually and held responsibilities such as leading the army, enforcing laws, and overseeing governmental functions. However, political power was not concentrated in the hands of a few individuals but was broadly distributed across social classes, especially between aristocratic families and the plebeians, common people. This was reflected in the Roman power structure, where the Senate, acting as a legislative body, held considerable power and made crucial decisions concerning war, peace, domestic, and foreign policies. The Republican period also witnessed a significant expansion and development of the Roman military. The Roman army at this time was not only tactically superior but also exceptional in organization and training. Soldiers, mostly recruited from free Roman citizens, fought in widespread military campaigns that enabled Rome to expand its territories throughout the Mediterranean region. The professionalization of the military further strengthened the Republic and laid a solid foundation for future conquests. One of the most decisive series of events that allowed Rome to dominate the Mediterranean was the Punic Wars against Carthage, Rome's long-standing rival. These conflicts, consisting of three major wars from 264 BCE to 146 BCE, played a crucial role in shaping the destinies of both civilizations. The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BCE, was especially significant, as the Roman army under the command of Scipio Aemilianus completely destroyed the city of Carthage. With this victory, Rome emerged as the dominant power in the Mediterranean, with no serious contenders. The Punic Wars not only allowed Rome to expand its empire but also demonstrated its military superiority and strategic brilliance. Despite Rome's military triumphs and expansive power throughout the Mediterranean, the Republic was plagued by intense internal conflicts. Roman politics during this period were marked by fierce rivalries among powerful factions. Noble families such as those led by Gaius Marius and Lucius Cornelius Sulla competed for control, further deepening the political fragmentation of Roman society. Marius, a renowned general, implemented military reforms that allowed the poor to enlist in the army, significantly expanding the recruitment base and strengthening the military force. However, these reforms had an unintended consequence. The army became increasingly loyal to individual generals rather than the state itself. This laid the groundwork for future civil wars. Sulla, a prominent rival of Marius, seized power through a bloody civil conflict, declared himself dictator, and introduced reforms to consolidate his authority. These internal wars were not just battles between noble families, they revealed the deep structural crisis within the Roman political system. The republican institutions had lost their ability to govern and maintain stability. This political unraveling set the stage for the emergence of Julius Caesar, a figure who would redefine Rome's future. Caesar rose to prominence as a brilliant military commander and influential politician. After a series of victorious campaigns in Gaul, he became the de facto ruler of Rome. Yet, his growing power and the perception that he aimed to become king alarmed many senators. In 44 BCE, Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators hoping to preserve the republic. His death, however, did not restore the old system. Instead, it plunged Rome into further chaos and paved the way for the end of the republic. Following Caesar's assassination, his adopted heir, Octavian, later known as Augustus, emerged as the most powerful figure in Rome. Octavian skillfully defeated his political rivals, including Mark Antony, and consolidated his rule. In 27 BCE, the Senate granted him supreme authority and the honorific title Augustus, making him the first emperor of Rome. While Augustus maintained the outward appearance of republican institutions, such as the Senate and elected magistrates, the true power rested firmly in his hands. Through careful reforms in the military, administration, and legal systems, he established a centralized imperial structure that stabilized Rome after years of unrest. One of Augustus' greatest legacies was the establishment of the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, a 200-year period of relative stability and prosperity. During this time, Rome was largely free from major external invasions and internal civil wars, allowing the empire to flourish across many domains. Augustus used his military strength not only to secure Rome's frontiers but also to restore order within the empire after years of turmoil. He implemented sweeping reforms, professionalizing the military and turning it into a loyal, efficient force capable of defending the vast Roman territories. Under his rule, the Roman economy experienced unprecedented growth. Trade flourished both within the empire and with distant regions. An extensive network of roads, commonly known as Roman roads, was built and improved, facilitating the transport of goods, soldiers, and information. A stable currency system was established, promoting economic integration and commerce across diverse provinces. Culturally, the Augustan period witnessed a golden age in Roman art and literature. Augustus actively supported artistic endeavors, commissioning grand public buildings and sponsoring poets and writers. He sought to revive traditional Roman values through cultural promotion, emphasizing order, piety, and loyalty to the state. Famous poets such as Virgil and Ovid lived during this time. Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid, celebrated Roman origins and destiny, reinforcing Augustus' vision of Rome as a divinely chosen empire. Ovid's Metamorphoses, though more playful and mythological, also reflected Rome's rich cultural and literary sophistication. In addition to artistic flourishing, Augustus significantly expanded the Roman Empire. He secured territories across Europe, Africa, and Asia, stretching Roman rule from Britain in the northwest to Egypt and the Middle East in the southeast. These newly conquered regions were governed through a tightly organized administrative system, which ensured imperial control and local stability. The peace and prosperity of Pax Romana also created ideal conditions for advancements in science, engineering, and architecture. Grand structures such as the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and the aqueducts showcased Roman ingenuity and aesthetic sensibility. Many of these achievements continue to inspire modern architecture and engineering to this day. The Golden Age of the Roman Empire spanned from 27 BCE to 180 CE, reaching its pinnacle under the reigns of emperors such as Trajan, Hadrian, and Marcus Aurelius. This era was characterized by extraordinary military power, cultural richness, economic expansion, and monumental achievements in architecture and infrastructure. Trajan, r. 98 to 117 CE, was one of Rome's most accomplished emperors. Under his leadership, the empire reached its greatest territorial extent. Trajan launched successful military campaigns that expanded Roman control into new regions such as Dacia, modern-day Romania, a land rich in resources and strategically significant. These victories not only enhanced Rome's influence in Eastern Europe but also enriched the empire's treasury. Beyond military conquests, Trajan was a visionary builder. He initiated massive infrastructure projects, roads, bridges, ports, and aqueducts, connecting distant provinces and strengthening the empire's cohesion. The construction of Trajan's Forum and Trajan's Column in Rome showcased both his military glory and his commitment to public works. These structures stood as enduring symbols of Roman power, order, and architectural mastery. Hadrian, r. 117 to 138 CE, Trajan's successor, focused less on expansion and more on consolidation. He is best remembered for Hadrian's Wall in Britain, a massive fortification built to protect the Roman frontier from northern tribes. The wall also marked a shift in imperial strategy, from conquest to defense. Hadrian was a cultured and intellectual ruler, deeply fascinated by Greek art, philosophy, and architecture. His reign saw the construction of remarkable buildings such as the Pantheon, which remains a marvel of engineering with its massive dome and open oculus. Hadrian traveled extensively across the empire, inspecting provinces and initiating local developments, thus reinforcing imperial presence and unity. Marcus Aurelius, r. 161–180 CE, often referred to as the philosopher king, was both a skilled ruler and a stoic thinker. His reign was marked by relative internal peace and continued prosperity, though he faced challenges such as the Marco-Mannic Wars and growing pressure from Germanic tribes along the Danube frontier. Despite these conflicts, Marcus is best remembered for his philosophical writings, especially Meditations, a timeless reflection on duty, morality, and resilience in leadership. His writings continue to influence leaders and thinkers around the world. During this golden era, Rome's architecture flourished, exemplified by iconic constructions such as the Colosseum, completed under the Flavian dynasty but used extensively in the centuries that followed. With a capacity of over 50,000 spectators, it hosted gladiatorial games and public spectacles, reinforcing the power and grandeur of the empire. The Roman road system, stretching from Spain to Syria and from Britain to Egypt, remained a marvel of logistical engineering. These roads were vital for trade, communication, and military mobilization, further strengthening Rome's control over its vast dominions. By the end of the 2nd century CE and throughout the 3rd century, the Roman Empire began to experience a prolonged period of crisis and decline. A combination of internal instability and external invasions undermined the strength of the empire. Germanic tribes such as the Goths, Vandals, and Franks increasingly breached Rome's borders, attacking cities, destroying infrastructure, and challenging the empire's military supremacy. Simultaneously, Rome was plagued by internal political chaos. The imperial throne became a dangerous and unstable position, frequently changing hands through assassination, rebellion, or military coups. Corruption, civil war, and economic turmoil further weakened the empire's structure. Inflation soared, taxation became unbearable for many, and the once mighty Roman army grew overstretched and demoralized. Amidst this chaos, Emperor Diocletian, r. 284–305 CE, rose to power and initiated sweeping reforms in an effort to restore order. Realizing the empire had grown too vast to govern effectively from a single center, he divided the empire into two administrative regions, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. Each was ruled by an Augustus, senior emperor, assisted by a Caesar, junior emperor, creating a system known as the Tetrarchy, or rule by four. This division allowed for more efficient governance and focused military defense across the vast territories. While the Western Empire included Italy, Gaul, Hispania, and North Africa, the Eastern Empire covered regions such as Greece, Asia Minor, Egypt, and the Levant. The eastern half, with its wealthier cities and stronger trade routes, began to grow more powerful and stable over time. Diocletian also introduced major economic reforms, attempting to stabilize prices and enforce stricter tax collection. He restructured the army, improved border defenses, and imposed greater control over provincial governors. However, his policies, while restoring some short-term stability, could not completely halt the empire's long-term decline. After Diocletian's voluntary abdication in 305 CE, a new wave of power struggles emerged. Eventually, Constantine the Great, r. 306–337 CE, rose to power after a series of military victories and reunified the empire under his sole rule. Constantine is best remembered for two transformative decisions. First, he relocated the imperial capital from Rome to Byzantium, a strategic city on the Bosporus Strait, which he rebuilt and renamed Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. This city would later become the center of the Eastern Roman, or Byzantine, Empire, and remain one of the most powerful cities in the world for over a millennium. Second, Constantine embraced Christianity, ending centuries of persecution against Christians. Through the Edict of Milan, 313 CE, he granted religious tolerance throughout the empire. He supported the construction of churches and convened the First Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, laying the groundwork for Christianity's rise as a dominant world religion. Despite numerous reforms and temporary restorations of power, the Western Roman Empire continued its decline throughout the 4th and 5th centuries. The relentless invasions by Germanic tribes, including the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, placed immense pressure on Rome's borders and internal systems. One of the most symbolic events of this collapse occurred in 410 CE, when the Visigoths under King Alaric sacked the city of Rome. This shocking event shattered the illusion of Rome's invincibility and signaled the empire's crumbling authority. Further invasions followed, with the Vandals attacking and looting Rome again in 455 CE. Internally, the Western Empire was in political disarray. Emperors were often figureheads controlled by powerful generals or rival factions. The central authority weakened, and many provinces began to operate autonomously, ignoring Rome's commands. Economic collapse, declining military morale, and widespread corruption made it nearly impossible to sustain governance. The final blow came in 476 CE, when the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, was deposed by Odoacer, a Germanic chieftain. Rather than declaring himself emperor, Odoacer acknowledged the authority of the Eastern Roman Emperor but ruled Italy independently. This moment is widely regarded by historians as the end of the Western Roman Empire, marking the close of classical antiquity in Western Europe. However, the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, endured for nearly another 1,000 years. With its capital in Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire preserved Roman traditions, law, art, and administration while also integrating Greek language and culture. Throughout the medieval period, the Byzantine Empire remained a powerful force in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. It faced numerous challenges, from Persian wars to Islamic conquests, but persisted due to its strategic diplomacy, military innovations, and centralized government. Under emperors like Justinian I, the Byzantines reconquered parts of the Western territories and codified Roman law into the Corpus Juris Civilis, a foundational legal text that continues to influence modern legal systems. The empire also became a center of Christian theology, architecture, and art. Hagia Sophia, a masterpiece built under Justinian, remains one of the most significant religious and architectural monuments in the world. Ultimately, the Byzantine Empire fell in 1453, when Constantinople was conquered by the Ottoman Turks under Sultan Mehmed II. The fall marked the end of the Roman state in any form. But the legacy of the Eastern Roman Empire lived on, especially in Orthodox Christianity, Eastern European culture, and the preservation of ancient knowledge through Byzantine scholarship. Although the Roman Empire has long since fallen, its influence continues to resonate across countless aspects of modern life, from law and government to language, architecture, military structure, and culture. The legacy of Rome remains a foundational pillar of Western civilization. Perhaps the most profound and lasting contribution of Rome lies in its legal system. Roman law introduced principles such as citizenship rights, legal equality, property laws, contracts, and due process, concepts that still underpin modern legal frameworks. The Corpus Juris Civilis, compiled under Emperor Justinian, became a cornerstone of European law and later shaped the development of civil law traditions in countries like France, Germany, and Italy. Roman political ideas also echo in modern democratic systems, particularly the notion of checks and balances, republicanism, and senatorial governance. The Roman Senate, while originally an aristocratic body, served as an early model for representative institutions found in modern parliaments and legislative assemblies. The Roman military was one of the most disciplined and strategically advanced forces of the ancient world. The legion, Rome's basic military unit, set standards in organization, logistics, training, and battlefield tactics. Modern military structures, command hierarchies, and engineering principles, especially in areas like fortification, road building, and siege warfare, draw heavily from Roman models. Roman engineering achievements were revolutionary. The construction of roads, aqueducts, bridges, amphitheaters, and public baths showcased their practical genius and aesthetic sophistication. Buildings like the Pantheon and the Colosseum not only exemplify Roman innovation but also continued to influence architectural styles around the world. Roman concrete, arch-based construction, and urban planning concepts formed the blueprint for modern city development. Today, echoes of Roman design are found in government buildings, museums, courthouses, and churches across the West. Latin, the language of Rome, evolved into the Romance languages, Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. Latin also remains the root of much scientific, legal, medical, and theological vocabulary. It is still studied in academia and used in religious and ceremonial contexts, particularly within the Roman Catholic Church. Roman literature, particularly from authors like Virgil, Cicero, Seneca, and Ovid, has shaped Western literary traditions. Their works laid foundations in rhetoric, philosophy, poetry, and historical writing, continuing to inspire scholars and writers across centuries. Roman art, influenced by both Etruscan and Greek styles, achieved a distinct identity through realism, narrative reliefs, and mosaics. Their sculpture, frescoes, and decorative art captured not only the grandeur of imperial life but also the everyday reality of Roman citizens. Rome's cultural values, stoicism, civic duty, honor, and public service, have endured in Western moral and philosophical traditions. The ideal of a well-rounded citizen, engaged in both politics and philosophy, is a legacy rooted in Roman educational and social ideals. Rome played a pivotal role in the spread and institutionalization of Christianity. After Emperor Constantine legalized the religion in the 4th century, Christianity grew to become the dominant spiritual force in Europe. The Roman Catholic Church, seated in the former capital, inherited not only spiritual authority but also Rome's administrative and legal frameworks. Through centuries of religious, cultural, and political evolution, the Church carried forward elements of Roman identity, language, Latin, and ideology, continuing to influence millions worldwide. The Roman Empire was not just a political entity, it was a civilization whose vision, structures, and achievements outlived its own timeline. While Rome eventually succumbed to internal decay and external pressures, its ideas endured, adapted by successive empires, kingdoms, republics, and modern nation-states. Whether in a courtroom, a university lecture, a modern military academy, or the architectural marvels of a capital city, Rome lives on. The ideals of order, law, citizenship, infrastructure, and cultural expression, forged and perfected in Roman times, remain embedded in the very framework of the modern world. In this sense, the Roman Empire never truly died. Its legacy is immortal.